Hello and welcome back to Love Through It. I am so happy you're here. I am on one today. I am feeling all the love and all the wiggles. We are present with all the loving beings today. We're all here. I don't have much of a plan. I have some ideas, but let's go for a ride. Let's go for a ride. I just got off a call with one of my former clients who I hadn't spoken to about 3 years. She did my group program, and there are a few people that did my group program a few times, and it was this incredible little community. And what I mean by group program was during the pandemic, I half created, half channeled this it was a 3-month program around kind of like mind body connection, learning to love and listen to your body. It ended up being like a consciousness and self love vehicle that I didn't even realize. And I really got to know a bunch of these really amazing women super well, and one man. And it was just my favorite part of the pandemic. And fun fact, Claire, our incredible producer, who is here in the flesh today, which doesn't always happen. So we're very excited. And who launched her podcast today, which will have been yesterday by the time this comes off. So it's out. Go listen to Clarify Your Day if you want to hear both of us, if you haven't got enough of me. And oh my gosh, the client, Claire, I know you're listening, I was speaking to today, was telling me how excited she was about your podcast going back. Anyway, fun fact, Claire was the first person to ever sign up for this thing that I thought was super weird that I'd put together and that I had launched on Instagram before I'd moved my business on Instagram. And I was so scared, but I did it anyway. And it became this whole other beautiful thing. And I had gotten to know this person quite well and been with her through, some health stuff, some family stuff, some life's transitions. And she was one of the first people that reached out and was like, oh my God, I see that Love Through It's back. And it was so great. After listening to an episode or two, she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I know it's for me and I'm going to listen. And so she has been. And then she reached out to me a week or two ago and was like, again, I don't know why I'm reaching out to you, but I feel I need to. Are you still taking clients? I feel like I need to be around you or work with you. What do you do? So we had a discovery call before this, and it was just so beautiful to hear where her life had gone and, how I'd been a part of that and the beautiful things that had happened. But also, guys, I got to remind you, guys, people, I know we're not supposed to say guys anymore. What are you supposed I don't know. I'm from the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. I'm from the 80s. This is going to be full on. I have so much energy. Oh my God. Anyway, people and non-people, everyone. Every single person has something to teach you if you let them. Every experience, every person. And that is coming so strongly for me today. And I'll back it up a bit because I started a month ago the Venus sequence of the Gene Keys. And the Gene Keys, if you don't know what they are this channeled text. It's this book, and you have a chart, and you can go through these different pathways on your chart to learn more about yourself and to expand your consciousness. And I just entered the love one for the first time. So I'm looking at my relationship to love and self-love. And then fast forward a couple of weeks later, I am exchanging channeling with my friend where we practice with each other. And it was so funny. She always does this thing where she calls it casting the net, where she just sits and and asks, not kind of, for the thing that I need to know. What's the most imperative thing for me to know? And she was so cute. She's a bit younger. And she was like, this is weird. I don't feel like this is something that you need, but I'm getting self-love. And I was like, okay, all areas of my life are shining this on me. And I sat there, and the beautiful thing I often find with the channeling and the trading with my friend, or the channeling that I do, is it picks up on something so subtle in the background, but that is so profound. And in being pushed to channel and restart this, I'm being asked to step more into my leadership, to take up space, to share how I feel, to shine my light. And I've been so hesitant because I want to do right by you. I want to show up and I want to make sure I'm taking space that should be taken, not just adding to the noise, because there's just a cacophony of noise out there these days. And I want to make sure I'm bringing something of substance. But it's funny because now I know, right? Everything's a vibration. And depending on where you're coming from, from your heart, from your intention, it almost doesn't, obviously it matters what you say, but it almost doesn't, because if it's a loving transmission, you're going to feel that and you're going to get what you need. Which I was just talking to my client who was like, I don't know why I'm even talking to you, or my past client who now is going to be a client again, actually, which is so fun. Where she was like, I don't even know why we're having this call, but I deeply feel that I need to reconnect with you. And we were talking about how she's like, half the time I don't know what you're talking about, but I feel really good. And I was like, that's all that matters, right? And that's why we always want to be paying attention to what makes us feel good. But here we are. I'm now getting the lesson of self-love and to expand more into my leadership and love myself more. And it was so interesting to the Gene Keys to be teaching me this, for my friend a couple weeks later, the channel to be saying this. And for me, really looking inward and feeling where I shrink. And fast forward to last weekend, I was invited to one of my current client who's now transitioned to a friend. She lives here. You know who you are. Shout out to you. She was having a 40th birthday. I went and I didn't know anyone. I was happy to support her. It was in Portugal. And I was on the group chat, and it was like, I could tell a bunch of people that knew each other, had fun together, were like down to have a good time. So I was going into this a little timid because, I'm a boring wellness lady sometimes, but I still know how to party. And I was a little tentative. And because I got sick so many years ago, I have part of my self-concept is that I'm very delicate. And I've always been trying, I really rewrote the sick person. Like, if you've ever been sick for a long period of time, you end up in this self-concept of like, I am sick, I have to be careful with myself. And now I know I am well, but there's still this part of me that's like, I have to be careful with myself, which means I'm not fun, which means like there's a whole bunch of stuff that it tells me in the background. So here I am, I go, it blew my mind because rarely have I entered into, and at this point in my life, I've been to lots of parties and bachelorettes and girls' trips where very rarely have I entered into a group of people who loved each other so much, so openly, who were so there for each other. And at the same time, were absolutely open arms, welcome, excited to hear from me. And I think that because I've been with my client for a number of years and we're now friends and I've helped her with a lot of things, luckily she's spoken quite highly of me. But it was so amazing. And I had so much more fun than I even imagined that I could. Like, I just felt, because I'm a reflector also in human design, essentially an open empath, I magnify other people's feelings. So going into an environment like that is like the best drugs you can give me. Like, it's so selfishly awesome because everyone's so excited and the love is so strong and I'm just amplifying it. And it's just so much fun to be in this space. And one of the evenings of the birthday, we end up, up all night at the beach at sunset, like dancing and skinny dipping and having a great time. And I have this moment where I start noticing that I'm having a peak experience. And I try to really pay attention to that in this lifetime, where I am, when I have one, I've started to notice, especially since I started studying the Gene Keys and I look at like addictive thought patterns, and I'm just like really aware of my consciousness. I start to notice when I feel good, And pay attention to this in your own life, right? Because often, as soon as you feel like really, really good or good past the peak of what you're used to feeling, your mind and body, one or the other, is immediately going to come in and be like, no, you can't feel that happy. So I am doing cartwheels in a sparkly dress, drunk, like having the best time under a full moon, like literally like waxing poetic about the beauty of the moment and how this is heaven on earth, right? And immediately my brain is like, you're bad. It's way past, it's like 4 a.m. You should be asleep. You don't drink, you don't go out, you don't do these things anymore. Like, what the hell? Like, you're a bad person. And, my partner sadly couldn't come because she's going through a burnout. And then so there's guilt around. It's almost like you can't be having this much fun without the people you love. And you can't be like, these aren't your friends. And it was so funny because in that moment, I was like, oh, wow, this is an area where I need to love myself more. I do not let myself feel as good as I feel. And I'm someone who generally really likes herself. I'm confident. I've worked on myself a lot. I've done a lot of therapy. I've done a lot of everything because I'm such a seeker. But there's always an edge. So this past month, it's been so interesting to think about where I shrink, where I don't want to shine, where I don't want to take up space, where I don't want to where I apologize, where I don't want to be too shiny. I don't want to be too joyful. I don't want to be too loud. I don't want to take up space because, man, like, I don't know, women, right? We were told our whole life we're not supposed to be doing that, right? And it was so interesting. And it was a smaller group of us that night, but I remember I went and I sat down with the girls. I was like, you guys, I'm doing this thing. And immediately, because I often, when I name something, when I bring it into the light from the shadow, it's so much easier to let go of. And I was like, wow, you guys, I was just having this beautiful experience and I was making myself wrong. And it was so funny that at one point I was making myself so wrong that I noticed it in my brain and I had to give myself a talking to. Because of course, when it comes to spirituality and connection and spirit, it's like, well, no, you meditate in a cave. You only eat leaves. You only drink water. You only wear organic linen. Like, you shit rainbows. Like, you're not supposed to like have a cheeky cigarette and drink a bunch of tequila and like be a menace. And it was so funny because I like took myself on a walk for a minute and I immediately connected to my guides. And I was like, guys, am I like bad? Am I doing something wrong? Like, what is this? And they just were laughing at me and they go, you know the answer to this. And no, like, look at this beautiful celebration of all of these people coming together who love each other to celebrate someone. Nothing is bad or good. Nothing is more or less spiritual. There is no morality to anything. It's just the intention with which you bring it. Can alcohol be the worst thing in the world? Absolutely. Can you avoid your life? Can you screw up your family? Can you hurt people? Can you kill people? Absolutely. But used responsibly in different settings, and that's true with everything, right? Drugs, right? Intentionally can be so healing for people. And it was so funny to kind of have a word with myself and with them. And they were having a giggle with me because it was like, girl, why can't you let yourself feel this happy and this free? Why can't you expand? And it was like, wow, this is the next layer of me taking up space. And I notice a lot on here with you. I am very tentative because I feel like this came to me through my channel. I was pushed through my channel. So I've been very intentional about, okay, I only want to bring what is true and right and channeled wisdom. And I want to be so serious about this, but that's not inherently who I am. Like, I'm a comedian. I'm a goof. I don't take myself seriously and I want to have fun. And that's my brand, right? And I've been so afraid to sort of integrate more fully and sort of shout from the rooftops, like, this is who I am. And this is where, the type of person I am. And I want to say thank you to both of my clients. One who had this incredible birthday where it kind of just like took me out of my routine and just like smothered me with love and joy and allowed me to be in a situation where I saw that I could be loving myself better. And for all of you, notice when you you shrink. Notice when you hold your tongue. Notice when you apologize. Notice when you expand and immediately contract, or you feel really good and you immediately tell yourself you can't have the thing, or you're not good enough, or you're too skinny, or too fat, or too poor, or whatever it is, too late. Notice that, because that's just showing you where you need to relax and expand more. And so I purposely that night, I was like, no, I want to sit in this feeling of profound love and permission and freedom. And I'm someone, through being like having Sagittarius in my chart, having Gene Key 55, which is like freedom, freedom. I am such a freedom loving and seeking being that the world tells you, especially not to harp on the woman thing, but truly in so many ways that we're not. And here I was allowing myself to like expand my heart and be open and be expressed and be free. And it was such a gift. It was such a gift. And then today, here I am giving all the support and guidance and just really connecting with this woman who I love and loved working with, who at the end of our call gave me a talking to and was like, listen, you need to own this. What you put out in the world is so powerful and it's so life-changing. And what you've done for me and so many others is so incredible. Like, you need to own that and not shy away from this and not feel like it's weird and not feel like it's too much, because I've been quietly guiding through my intuition this entire time. Did I have a channel back then? Yes. But was I aware of it? No. Was I present to a lot of the realities I understand or perceive as realities, I guess, from my experience? No. But did I still have gifts? Yes. And she kind of sat me down and was like, you own this and you love this about you. And, you bring that into the world. And then again, she was like, I don't even know what you're talking about half the time, but I leave feeling good. And that's what you do. And I'm not special, right? Every single one of us has this in their own way. And it was so interesting because she and I were talking about how much her job just takes her out of her joy, her connection to her body, and just reframing what that could be. Like, you don't even have to quit. You don't have to leave the situation you're in. You can start to orient towards it differently through the lens of love, through the lens of, like, she's a high achiever perfectionist who's really hard on herself and it's making her sick. And I gave her the challenge. I was like, okay, so yes, quitting your job like tomorrow is not in the cards, but like, what if we pivoted away from like, how can I be perfect, to how can I have fun? And the way this woman giggled, it was incredible. Sorry, water. Not sorry, I was thirsty. But it was so interesting. I was like, you can orient differently and the experience will be so different in your body. And that's all expanding your consciousness is, through expanding your awareness and paying attention. And the more you pay attention to these things that you're doing, maybe unconsciously initially, to keep yourself small or to make yourself wrong or to make yourself feel bad, let it go. Like, permission, let it go. And while all of this stuff has been going on, I've also been on a little bit of like a wellness journey again, as I was talking about. And I'm sure I've talked about it before, but my melasma, my hyperpigmentation, which you can't really see much of when I wear makeup, is my Roman Empire. Every summer it gets darker, and it just tells me that there's some imbalance in my body. And for years and years and years and years, everyone has just told me there's no fix. And I found a woman on Instagram who is a nutritionist. She's reversed it 8 years, like never came back, which can be hard to do. And my ego, I found her, and forgive me if I've said this, but I found her a year and a half ago, and my ego was like, I already know all this. I was a health coach. Like, I know about nutrition, like whatever. I'll like buy her skincare. So I did, and it was made my skin nice, but it didn't do anything because it's a root cause problem, right? So there was something about this year where I just kept seeing her stuff, and I finally bought the course. And I'm going to out myself because I actually have a little bit of shame around this, because it was paradigm shifting to do this course. And I went through it, and there was so much I didn't know. I mean, even the diet stuff, like there's very specific stuff that you need to do. Like, you want your skin to be better? Honestly, eat a raw carrot every day on an empty stomach. like game changer. Like that, I'm eating a lot more beans, which I knew like soluble fiber brings, like I have excess hormones floating around in my system from being on the pill for 10 years, that kind of stuff. So I'm learning about minerals and vitamins. And throughout this course, she is like, you need to eat more, 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 you're not eating enough, you're not eating enough, you're not eating enough. And I'm like, bitch, I was a health coach for 10 years. I healed bulimia. I help people heal eating disorders. I know that I'm eating enough. And it was so interesting because one of her modules, she just talks about how we're shaped by the media. And like, as soon as we can start to perceive our bodies and understand diets, we're told to eat less and count calories and all of these things. And as I started this whole space in wellness to heal, I was like, no, but I've like fully healed my bulimia and I can eat anything and and I'm happy in my body. And then it was so interesting because I was having this resistance because what I'm meant to be eating to help clean out my liver is more. And I was so resistant to it because I'm like, well, I'm not hungry in the morning and I listen to my body and this and that. And I know intermittent fasting healed inflammation at a period of my life. And here I'm like hanging on to these ideals that also were someone who was very afraid, who also needed to stay really thin for acting and modeling. And it was really wild to be like, what if I just tried what she's asking? And for the first time in my adult life, I'm like eating a lot more. And it's so funny because it's healthy things, like whatever, quote unquote, or skin healing things. And it's kind of hard because my body's not used to it. And I'm not gaining weight. But and I'll cry. I didn't know that there was a whole part of me that was always a little trained to be a little hungry, or like a little like, oh no, have a coffee, or you're not hungry yet. Or it was so deeply ingrained that there was a part of me that just felt like I was like holding my breath a little bit. And I was never, I mean, I eat meals like whatever, like I was not in any, I didn't even know, I do not starve myself and I'm even good at it. Right. But it was like, because I gained weight in college and I got into the machine really early. Though I'm an intuitive eater, I learned, okay, intermittent fasting healed my body, this, and this. I feel good at this size, whatever. Our bodies are always changing, especially as women. I start just letting something else crack me open because it was a real ping for me to start this course. And I was like, well, I paid money and like, I'm so invested in like helping with my hormones. Like, what if I just like listened to her all the way? And I was resistant and I started doing it. And like, I was like, whoa, I wasn't hungry. I was never actually hungry. I would just like, I would be tired a lot. And I was like, wow, have I always had, did I just blame my sensitivity and me being a reflector? Like, did I have less energy because I've just been undernourished for 20 years and I didn't realize it because I wasn't actually hungry? And like, I had a little bit of coffee. Well, actually not even really, a little bit of tea today. Like I mostly cut caffeine. And it's so interesting to cut caffeine and like try to eat more and eat more regularly in this like balanced way where I was doing a lot. I was doing things that helped heal my gut inflammation. And now that's not an issue, but I held on so tightly. Here I am telling you all every single day, listen to your body, listen to the changes, you know what I mean? Be in the present, be here now. And I was like, this was a huge blind spot for me. So in this entire month of like the universe showing me all these ways I wasn't loving myself, I was like, I didn't even know I was kind of undernourished. And I'm not super thin. Like, I've actually put on weight in the past couple of years and like I'm normal, but like I'm not like hyper skinny. So it was so interesting to be like, oh, I don't think I'm this tired. I just wasn't getting enough of the proper kind of fuel enough throughout the day. And there is a deep exhale in my body all of the time because it's almost like another worry about my relationship to food that I didn't even know was there because it started at like 19 years old and just was like a part of me. And even though I, went to nutrition school and I healed a autoimmune disease through food, I'd been to therapy. It was like I had trained myself to understand. So what I'm saying is we don't know what we don't know. And here I am working in wellness for like 8 million years and reading all the books, doing all the things and listening to my body, but unaware that like, oh, the amount of low energy, it didn't express as hunger. So I'm not hungry. I'm tired. Like just silly things that sound probably really dumb. But in this way, it's like I feel safer and more love in my body in all of these ways. And I feel I feel pretty embarrassed saying this because here I am fancying myself someone who like knows what they're talking about in this vein, at least. Right. And it was so wild because now through, my friend Grace pointing it out, through my different orientation around nourishment physically, through looking at ways where I was shrinking again, almost unconsciously and being apologetic for like where I'm taking up space and how, and feeling like my experience and my opinion and my excitement and my joy around things was less than my channeled wisdom. Where can I tell you how many times I show up to this podcast and I sit there and I ask and they say, talk about what you're excited about. Talk about what you've learned. We're here. We want you to talk about this and we'll come support you when you need. It's like, they're like, bitch, literally be you, be you. And the whole time I'm like, please no, okay, only if you tell me to. And like, I'm 43. Like this has taken a long time. And it's been so wild. And then on top of this whole thing, my partner has pursued and gotten an later in life autism diagnosis. And we suspected a couple years ago that she was on the spectrum. And it just didn't, I think there's been a lot of, actually, I'll just put it out there. Through the past couple of years, we're going through this wild evolution of human consciousness. And a lot of us are becoming more sensitive to the new energy. And she is one of the people. So she is becoming more and more sensitive. And then she got a calling to start biofield tuning, which I've talked about a little bit on this podcast. And that just strips away. If you're ever, I don't know, if you hear this and are curious, it is so wild. I have had a handful of biofield tuning, a ton actually at this point. And it was one of those things where it was like, I didn't know I needed this. Like someone is stripping away external energy and ancestral stuff that I didn't know I needed. And it actually opened up a lot of my self-expression that has been very clamped down through generations of women in my family. Anyway, through this, it stripped away a lot of her masking techniques. And she's really, really smart. And here she is through this process, learning to listen to all of these nuanced parts of herself and speaking up. And as a highly sensitive person who is not on the autism spectrum because I sat in on the diagnosis, but I definitely am a highly sensitive person, we might know. It's like her permission gave me permission to love myself better and gave me permission to listen and speak up more. So, I mean, ask and you shall receive. Oh my gosh. It was like my intention to start this Gene Keys course around love that is very self-love focused. Immediately, every part of my life starts to come in and show me where. So from how I was nourishing to physically and emotionally, how I was taking up space, the permission I was giving myself to show up and be my full expression of joy, my ability, even in my closest relationships, to completely speak up and be like, I'm too tired, or I need to sleep in my own energy, or I don't want to do that right now, or I don't feel comfortable, or I'm hungry. Like I need to eat first, or whatever these little things, because I'm so affected by everything, because I'm such a people pleaser, because I'm such a nice person, because whatever, I have all these hangups or used to. It was so beautiful. My friend Grace, like when she heard like self-love, like she needs to love herself better. She's like, this is so weird because you don't strike me as someone who doesn't love themselves. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I used to teach self-love. And then boom, the universe shows me so many ways where I can love myself better. And it wasn't that I didn't, but it was like, hey, if you want to evolve, which if you're here, I'm guessing that you want to evolve too. It's not that you don't have whatever it is. It's what's the next ceiling, right? Joy ceiling. How do we expand our capacity for love, for joy, for abundance, for peace? You're always going to have to grow that because your comfort zone of how good you can feel and how bad you can feel is fixed because of your life, because of your experiences, because of your heartbreaks and your genetics and all everything, because of society, because what we watch on TV. And the thing is, unless you consciously shift it, which is not that hard to do, again, it's through expanding your awareness. That's how consciousness shifts, expanding your awareness and reaching towards the light, growing towards the light, reaching for your joy, your love, your, everything that lights you up, reaching in that direction slowly, repeatedly. That's what changes it. Because once you start feeling good and getting used to feeling better and more peaceful and more abundant and more safe, what you'll tolerate on the bottom starts to rise too. Because all of a sudden, if you were happiest here, and then that goes up like 20 feet. I know this is, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm moving my hands up and down. But if that goes up, your basement level, right? The bottom will come up with you because there's no way you can tolerate rock bottom and the highest high. So your rock bottom will get lower and lower and lower until the bottom is just good, right? So you're talking about your love being like good and fantastic, right? And then good is even going to start feeling like, this is not great because I know what fantastic feels like. And that's our only job. It was so beautiful. At the end of the call I had with my client today, who's coming back, she was like, can I ask you, like you've had such a wild ride since we last worked together. And I heard you, like, how are you feeling? And I was like, I'm a human. So like all the stuff that comes with that, like the good and the bad, like yesterday was not a great day, but man, so much more love all the time, so much more trust. Like I've seen behind the curtain, it's all love. I know that there is something so much bigger than all of us that just wants us to have everything we've ever wanted. I mean, better if you don't attach to what that looks like because it'll come faster and more beautiful. But right, like I know we are so held, so guided. And my heart breaks for the amount of suffering that we allow and we do at our own hand. And I want to encourage you all, like, it doesn't have to be that way. And from where I'm sitting now, it's like, man, things can only get more and more and more beautiful, but you have to be brave and you have to be true and you have to step through the fear and you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And, a really beautiful, expansive, exquisite life did not come from your comfort zone. And so it's not that we don't feel scared or feel sad or feel bad sometimes. We have those moments where we break out of where we feel comfortable, but it's always like reaching towards the next beautiful thing. So it was interesting. All of this has been sort of cooking, and a lot of it feels really vulnerable to share because on one hand, it's like, oh, well, I've done all this work, or I was a health coach for a long time, or I like help a lot of people with their lives. But like, I'm right next to you. We're just on this wild ride. And I'm, as human as the next person, where it's like, oh, whoa, how am I fucking up over here? Oh, I didn't even know. I'm like, whoa, it could be so much better. And I mean, it's heartbreaking. I could just cry around just the subtle but profound shifts. And that's what comes, like, the further along the journey you go. Like in the beginning, it's like, oh, I stopped dating inappropriate people and I stopped having a crappy job and I stopped living paycheck to paycheck, or I stopped, living in a stress response, right? And then it's interesting because the more you progress, it's like these profound, like these subtle things that are programs running in the background that once you're aware of them and you stop doing them, there are profound shifts that happen in your life where, until I realized it, there was always a bit of tension and a bit of low energy in my body because I didn't know that there was like more safety and more I could feel by nourishing myself a bit differently. Right. And it's almost like I don't even know if I'm eating more or eating at different times. Like it's the volume. It's just like adding different things where there's like an exhale and like a safety and like a relaxation into my body that I didn't even know I needed. And it's the same like on the beach at like 4 a.m. on Saturday, like looking at the moon, doing cartwheels, being just like a total insane, silly Billy. Like, I don't know what I'm saying. Um, it was like, whoa, I always like, I have access to like this amount, like, this is who I am. I am this like profoundly like open-hearted, beautiful, optimistic, silly goose of a person who just wants to spill out love on everyone. And I don't let myself do that because I don't know. I don't want to be laughed at. I don't want people to think that I know best and I think I'm so great. Like, I don't know. I don't want to look stupid. Like, I'm ashamed. All the reasons, right? And it's like, whoa, I don't allow myself to like have my fullest expression and receive the beauty of what it is to be me. Like, I don't even give myself permission quietly in my own body for that. What a shame. What a shame. So truly, where are you hiding? Where are you small? And I just want to shout out to my partner because I'm so proud of you. And I know there can be a lot of stigma around mental health. And wow, thank you for being on this journey because in you owning who you are, and this is true also about everyone at this birthday I was at last weekend. It's so cool, you guys. Aging's so cool. I love being in my 40s because most of the people around me know who they are and they're unapologetic. So between being in this really beautiful cocoon of people who feel really safe and love being together and everyone is like being themselves, that freedom and like being in partnership with someone who's really learning and owning who they are, even if there's some perceived stigma, not as much anymore, thank goodness. And it just gave me permission because hey, I'm not the most normal human being. I'm like super sensitive. I talk to dead people. Like what? Like I don't know. Like I'm a creative weirdo, and I think we all come up into the world trying to fit in, to survive, to connect. And the more we show up and we're shiny and weird and honest and vulnerable, it just gives that permission to the next person. And I want to be doing that here. And I wasn't fully because I didn't even know I could love myself more and give myself more permission to do that. So this is like, again, I know I've said this before and I love it from the council, and they're the ones who probably initially planted the seed earlier this year. It's like, how do I allow all that I am? And I'm learning that. And I'm so learning that this month in every single area of my life. So where are you not free? Where are you not allowing yourself to be the biggest, boldest, beautiful, most beautiful version of yourself? Because it only gives us all permission. And the amount of permission I feel like I've been given through those around me and through myself, it's like I'm breathing bigger, I'm standing taller, I'm relaxing deeper, I'm feeling more love. And I think that is the only purpose. Joe always talks about, and this is why I go back to the retreats, there's always more love. There's always more love. And there is, and I think that's our job is how do we continue to evolve and experience all of that and shine our gifts through our heart and give everyone permission. Oh no, I mean, am I telling you all to love through it? Oh, I might be. I might be. Anyway, I am going to have a massive vulnerability hangover probably after this, but that's how I grow. And guys, can I tell you every single time, there's a part of my brain that just wants to make me wrong for being honest, being vulnerable, being weird. And you know what? I'm going to own it. I'm learning to own it more for me, for all of us, and I hope you do the same. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And as a favor to you, to me, to all of us, think about maybe what's one way you could give yourself more permission, love yourself a little better, and shine your light a little brighter in the world. Join me. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I love you so much.